Welcome to another episode of Healing is GANGSTA. This is a real episode. I mean, it's always real. Healing is GANGSTA, but it's gonna get especially real today because I got a couple of very special guests with me today. You know what I mean? Legends. You know what I mean? That's what I call legends. You feel me? Straight up. And I'm gonna start from right. We're gonna go left. Let me introduce myself. I'm Tajay. I'm a registered mental health professional, marriage and family therapist, doctoral candidate, and clinical psychologist, and all of the above.
Titles.
Yes, titles. I gotta let them know I'm certified, you feel me?
Right.
Certified like his single, but everything, you feel me? But yeah, so we're gonna go from right to left, and they're gonna introduce themselves, but yeah, pay attention because it's about to get real. So, introduce yourself.
Yeah, man, Glasses Malone, one and only, East Side, man.
Yeah, why?
Stop.
Savage, Joey Westside, one half of the LA Giants.
The LA Giants, I love it, man. I told you I love your man.
Hey, man, we're being real intentional these times.
Yeah, man, and I was real excited about this episode. For one, G, I've known you for a long time. And I feel like we've been privy to each other's like evolution. You know, close proximity and far proximity. You know what I'm saying? From being kind of this off the block, kind of not knowing nothing about this music industry and stuff, kind of just, playing it for what it was. We went through a lot. And over the years, one thing I've admired about you myself is, like I said, the evolution. Like, it was more than the artistry. Your opinions and your thoughts, always very articulate, and the way you articulated them in a way that a lot of people could understand. You didn't have to just be from Watts or from the streets to understand what you were saying. And it was always very intelligent. You know what I mean? And so when I see the evolution of you obviously being presented to the world rapping, to now being an influencer, and can I say media person? Right?
I guess.
Yeah, because you got the show.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The No Ceilings. You know what I'm saying? Which we'll get into in a minute. But, like, again, you've been able to kind of stay, in a relevant position for a long time. And I know that's skill. That's not just you kind of just floating around. You know what I mean? And again, whenever you speak on something, whether people agree with you or not, because I know even back in the day, we would have our debates about everything, right? Which I love, you know what I'm saying? And so I want to start at the beginning, and then I want to get into what you're doing too. You know what I'm saying? But I do want to start at the beginning of your journey, too, because I feel like that's where everything starts. Obviously, when I think of you and when a lot of other people think of you, they think of Watts.
Yeah.
Right? And, tell me if I'm wrong, Watts is what made Glasses Malone who you
Sure,
right?
Sure. So, Watts just has this way of carving out things that are in Watts, I always say Watts is like money. And money, you're going to be whoever you are. Money is going to allow you to be the person you want to be. Watts is the same way. Like, if you're going to be in Watts, you're going to be the person you want to be. You know what I'm saying? You don't have a choice. They're going to force it out of you. Growing up equally in Compton and Watts.
Yeah, because people don't know how close that person is. Helping the dub.
Two parents, spending moms in Compton, dad in Watts, spending equal amount of time in both. Compton is like this place that really gives you like heart. Compton is about heart, but Watts is like soul. It gives you a definition. You know what I mean? Like it carves out the person you are. You know what I mean? Like you ain't gonna survive there if it's not who you are. They're gonna pick you apart. You can't be a fraud there at all. You know what I'm saying? They'll pick you apart. So you really gotta carve out who you are and stand on your square. Like my first issues, even with trying to stay articulate through the whole experience of gangbanging, selling drugs and everything that come with it, it's fighting my homies for being articulate. You know what I mean? It's a tough out for it.
And you said when you say that, not to interrupt you, I kind of wanted emphasize what you just said, because it's something I talk about psychologically a lot as far as where we come from, because there's not a lot of studies on people like us that come from where we come from and some of the things that we deal with. And one of the things that always gets brought up is you never want to look like you fooled out here, right? I mean, you don't want to show any kind of weak or what's perceived as weakness.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And I remember what you're saying, like coming up at a time where if you liked reading books, if you showed emotion, you got people dying all around you, people going to jail, and yet it could be looked at as weakness if you cry, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's crazy psychologically when you think about that.
Man, I was talking to it about when my partner King driving up here and my boy Stefan, but I was explaining to them, people where we come from, it's like a computer. Like, you ever seen a computer in safe mode?
Yeah.
Like in safe mode, you can't go on the internet.
Yeah.
I feel like, safe mode, the computer is operating at its most primitive space. It's really simple, broken down to deal with problems. It's really simple. There's no access to the internet, if I remember correctly, in safe mode.
Yeah, you can't do a lot of stuff on
It's
the
primitive.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what's up with our people in those circumstances. They're operating in what I like to call survival mode. So it's a very primitive way of dealing with everything. It's not a lot of time to do things that people outside of it feel is necessity. You know what I mean? Things are dealt with in the most primitive set. Like the internet is like vision and options and opportunities. That's what the internet represents. Worlds that you don't have access to simply. You know what I mean? It's just access to all kind of information in worlds and things you didn't know existed. But when you're in safe mode, the computer is at its most primitive operating space. Well, that's what's up with our people. In survival mode, everything is very primitive. Everything is simple, simplified down because there's no belief there's something outside of survival mode. Some people get locked in that space. So you got somebody, right, we may be in the same circumstances, right, where their life is different, right? Maybe their life has been in survival mode, more. Me, no matter whatever the situation, I've never operated in survival mode.
How was you able to, because the survival mode that you're talking about, again, clinically that has a word, that's called being hypervigilant. And I like the example you use, because that's the example I use when I describe what you're talking about. You're stuck in fight or flight, basically. You're just stuck in that, and you're ready to turn up at any time, or you're ready for somebody to turn up on you. It's PTSD.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And when you're in that mode, like you said, the brain is in battery saver mode.
Yeah.
So it affects how you learn, how you think, you can't even plan for 6 months from now because you're worrying about right now.
I tell Head this all the time. We always have a disagreement. He feel like people are stupid. Not people are distracted.
Yeah.
It's a big difference. People aren't capable of learning. They're too distracted to learn.
Yeah.
And for me, right, my circumstances allowed me to, first it's just something that God gave. Right? I immediately, feel me, from the dealership, from the factory, I came with some kind of different upgrade, right, that the average person didn't necessarily have, right? This ability to access the internet, feel me, from the beginning, to believe whatever I saw, this is not the only thing here. I never thought Compton and Watch was the only thing I saw. I always knew it was way more. Part of that, outside of it, is my mom, feel me, being a registered nurse.
I was gonna say,
right, doing home care and her hustling and having access. I didn't travel, but I always knew I could do whatever I wanted to do. I just didn't want to do life. It's a blessing. I can't really give people a true explanation. I'm just grateful to God, right, that I was never stuck in survival mode. Even in survival situations, I still operated at optimal levels. Yeah. I was still able to think, process. People be yelling at me and they'll say a whole bunch of shit, and I pull them to the side and really check where they at with me. Because at that point now I need to figure out what's real and what's not. Yeah. And that's not something people commonly used to doing. They're not used to somebody saying, giving them an option of like, hey, what's up, for real? Yeah. Where your real energy at with some sense. Right. So there's some people that you could talk to in the community, and there's some people that need to be taught physically. And that's the thing that I do appreciate about the culture that is called gangbanging is, it's a lot of conversations happen that may not be with mouth. I mean, it may not be verbally, it may be physically to get the point across.
Okay.
Yeah, and then sometimes you may have to just fight a nigga to show him that you should be the person he's listening to anyway. Even if your intellect doesn't appeal, even if they can't process your intellect, nigga, you gonna listen to me because I can still whoop your ass when it's still said and done,
right.
and I want the best for you, even if you don't think I do.
Right.
So, as long as you're willing to fight your homies for what's best for them, I'll fight my homies. I will fight anybody I care about for what's best for them. Before I let a stranger fight you, nigga, I'm gonna fight you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that way, you get your ass with some love and some care. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it seemed like, but you said, like, your moms. A lot of people don't understand, you know, these attachments that we build when we were very young, whether it's your mom, your pops, or whoever's bringing you up at that moment. That's very important, even if it's just one person. You know what I mean? It seems like your mom's, something stabilized you in that realm. You know, even it might have been the discipline she showed, kind of staying, you know, because it's hard to do what she was doing.
It's weird, right? Because to her compliment, right, rest her soul, I was exposed to a lot of different things in life. You know what I'm saying? We wasn't a traveling family, but I read naturally. She didn't get in the way of that. I never seen her doing anything harmful to herself. You know, everything she was doing, whether it was right or wrong, was to advance her economic status, period. I had access to the internet in 1990.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things, but then also my mom was the same person also in her circumstances where, you know, having something, then she goes to the feds and they take everything and you don't have a pair of shoes.
Yeah, right.
So I learned a lot in that time. You know what I mean? My mom deserves credit for fostering and nurturing, you know, the ability that naturally God gave me to think. Feel me? She fostered and nurtured it. Feel me? But, you know, it does come with some trauma that comes with it. And it helped me realize firsthand, like, you don't, just like you have everything, you don't have to have nothing. And it's all good either way.
Yeah.
As long as I got this shit up here, it's good. So, honestly, as much as my mom fostered and nurtured it, she just watered it. Like God planted the seed. I mean, it just was something I had from the first day where it was like I was able to think. And whether I'm selling dope in the neighborhood, I'm selling dope on the 7th. Homies will tell you, I done read books and be selling dope. I'm reading books on the trunk of a car, sitting on the trunk of a car, reading a book, and then still selling shine. So, long as my homies didn't try to, you know, it was a time I felt like they tried to block whatever I was gonna be. Feel me? Once you fight enough niggas, they're gonna allow you to be whoever you want to be.
Right. Nah, absolutely. Now, you know, coming up in Watts, you know, obviously Watts is a very historical place. There's a certain resonance and energy there. Even when you just go there, it's different than when you in a lot of, even within LA.
Yeah.
Watts has its own, like, identity.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you definitely know when you're there. Now, explain a little bit, because I want to get into, because it's very interesting to me as intellectual as you are versus the stereotype of gangbanging to the world, I mean, right? They don't understand that even being as intelligent as we are, certain decisions get made. So I want to know day to day, you know, what was your life like coming up in Watts, getting up, going to school, like, what kind of fosters that, you know, that belonging to the hood, you know, or the whole mentality for people that, you know, obviously have never lived that life before?
I mean, for the most part, right? So when I'm going to school for Watts, it's different, right? Because in Watts, it's so, what's the word I'm looking? It's so tribal. Like, you from where you from, no matter what.
Yeah.
It ain't no getting away from it. I mean, if you grew up on 117th Street, you from the 7th. You grew up in PJ, you from Project. You grew up in the Jordans, you from Grape Street. Ain't nothing else to be said about it. Whether or not you acknowledge yourself as a part, it don't matter. You from there. Period. That's how it is, because at that type of poverty, at that time, Feel me? We need to simplify the space and identify who you are with and where did you come up with. And you from where you from anyway.
Yeah.
I think they protected my innocence as long as they could. Feel me? As long as I wanted to stay innocent, they protected it. Feel me? They wouldn't, I'd be walking around for school, homies would say something to me, but they didn't try to convince me to drop out of school and throw my life away.
Did you see some of that stuff at that age? Obviously, at that age, being young, there's some things that might turn you on to the life. Certain, you know, as far as me, I started hustling at a very young age, and just seeing, you know, the things that are shining. That brought me to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But I also saw the other side of it, where I saw some of the older homies getting killed, going to jail, things like that. Before you actually stepped off the porch, were you seeing some of these things happen around you, and how did that affect you at that time?
First time I saw a dead body at 9. I saw somebody get raped at 10. My first friend that got killed, like I told you, we was 11. I think at a certain place you can't deny the trauma, even if I don't accept it. Like I am entirely probably too desensitized. Like I understand, just like life, death is the very certain. I mean, like you're going to die. When is the question?
You learned that at an early age.
I saw poverty and wealth at the same time. You know what I'm saying? The thing though, like I said, being in Watson and particularly going to school, I think they do a good job of fostering people who trying to. The community gets a disservice. My older homies protected me. Like they didn't let people bully me or bother me when I was just trying to go to school. What turned me on to the hustling literally was like, it was just an opportunity. I wasn't forced to. You know what I mean? My dad and my stepmom at that time, you know, they wasn't rich, but they made more than enough money to feed all 8 or 9 kids that was in the house.
Yeah.
So it was just an opportunity. And I think I was really ignorant. You know what I'm saying? So you can be as intelligent as you want, but if you don't have information, you can make mistakes.
Yeah, it's the difference between intelligence and being wise.
Right? So
Yeah.
I was just ignorant. I really thought people was buying drugs off their own choice.
Yeah.
As far as the law part of it, you know, when it came to hustling or anything, I never really respected America's law, ever. It's nothing to do with my parents. It's nothing to do with my mom getting in trouble early. I never have. To this day. I don't respect America's law. I don't think it's fair. So I'm not fair. Feel me? With this country. Like I'm not fair, period. Like I try my best to be humane with other human beings. The day I realized, you know, people wasn't making a conscious choice of buying drugs, it kind of changed my perspective of selling drugs. Once I realized that, because when it's all said and done, I'm just trying to be humane. But, you know, again, we're in a situation where at times, self-preservation is key when it comes to living and dying.
Yeah,
so, if I got to distinguish your life, feel me, to breathe, because I'm not going to do nothing to bring your energy my way. If you bringing your energy my way, if you bringing that fire my way, feel me, it's your choice. And I have no problem distinguishing. It ain't about tough, it's just self-preservation. Yeah. And that's one thing Watts taught me too. Watts taught me that some people are past explaining. You know what I'm saying? Watts introduced me to a lot of jokers from Dark Knight.
Yeah.
But some people are very much past having a reasonable conversation.
Absolutely.
And logically working their way through problems, you know, solutions. So everybody don't want an amicable solution.
Yeah,
so at that point, you feel me? It's whatever it got to be to make sure you understand this ain't the kind of energy you want.
Yeah, no, that's real. I mean, I like the fact that you acknowledge the fact that you was traumatized by some of these early things that you were seeing, because psychologically it plays a big part in how we react to things later in life. You know, we tend to disassociate from our trauma, but don't understand that it comes out at some point or another.
I'm gonna tell you the realest shit, I never said it, right? Like meeting a girl, bro, and for me to start sex with her is so hard. She gotta kind of jump on me. She gotta come on to me because seeing that girl get raped at 10.
Yeah.
Feel me? Like feeling helpless and like a little kid, like I can't stop this adult lady from these 2 men raping her. And then watching that, like it puts something on my mind where honestly, not just the first time I ever talked about it, even girls I might have dated, I don't talk about it. It's like, I'm not a super aggressive person. I'm aggressive on niggas. I'm a terrorizing nigga life. But with women, you feel me? Like I have to let them kind of come to me because that shit fucked me up that somebody could do that to a woman that way. And I never really got over it. I never did. To this day, I never did. So it's always a space in me that feel like, damn, man, like some niggas could really use their power for something that's selfish and silly.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
and those, like I said,
for
that's
something that probably could cost me $30.
yeah. And what's crazy about that is like what you're talking about is third person PTSD, basically. You know, like if you experience somebody else going through something and you're right there, you get traumatized too. Just by being right there.
Prime example, man. And I don't mean to cut you off, but like
all good.
selling drugs to Sue Free's moms. That shit bothers me to this day. I feel like, damn, like the nigga, my boy, and I got genuine love for cousin. I'm selling his mom drugs. Like I'm still writing records trying to apologize for that, and niggas then moved on with their life, but I never moved on with mine from that space of them. Feel me? Okay, maybe everybody else, you know, whatever, but damn, if you love a nigga, how could you do that to his parents? Whether or not they can get it from anybody. So there's a lot of things that come with all this shit.
Yeah, that's a big thing. That's why I became like a proponent of, or why I push mental health the way I do right now. Because once I realized all the things, because like we said earlier, they use it against us, our emotion. They tell us to not express it, don't acknowledge it, don't acknowledge your past experience. Oh, that's weak, cuz, you know, we ain't got time for that. You know what I'm saying? It's just about go, 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 go. But the thing is, when you look on, let's say, some gang violence, right? When you look below, you know, everything is like, okay, he's from there, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Or he messed with some girl down this, whatever the situation is. Below all of that, the reason why it's easy for us to go to another brother and take that man's life a lot of the time is because we dealing with so much emotion.
We lack value for ourselves.
Yeah, and then that explosion comes out, that emotion finally comes out when we're taking it out on somebody. You know what I'm saying? Where for some people, like we both know some people that just really like that lifestyle. Some people just out here, they just like being wild.
But that's the only thing they have.
Yeah, but for the most part, I find that when people are able to look at their emotions and process them, it's harder for them to do such damage to somebody else that's just like them. But the fact that we don't acknowledge it is used against us, which is why I'm glad you brought that point up.
Yeah, I mean, man,
It's complex.
when you really think about it, I always say this, people think hate drives gangbanging, and it's not, it's love.
Yeah.
It's love and lack of value. I mean, lack of options, lack of opportunities. So you overvalue reputation, you overvalue pride.
Yeah.
The only reason you can take somebody's life so simple consistently is because you don't have value for your own life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everything is based off of what you value yourself. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of them things where, again, we operating in survival mode, so we don't even have a lot of faith or value in the computer system that we are ourselves.
Yeah.
We just don't have it because the internet is not present. You know, what a computer was worth in the 80s before, you know, in the 70s before, you know, the internet is probably totally different than how valuable it is now.
Yeah.
They might have charged more for that back then based off rarity, but now a computer, you know what I mean, a smartphone, any of those tools that have access to the internet is the ultimate tool in this fight. You feel me? You can learn anything, educate yourself on anything. Like you don't have any excuses now to be ignorant.
Right.
Outside of being in survival mode.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's true. That's survival mode, like I said.
That shit don't, none of them internets, and none of that shit, our smartphones, none of that shit matters when you locked in survival mode.
Yeah.
Like the internet, it don't matter how far the computer is once it's locked in safe mode.
Yeah, it's so crazy. Everything you talked about, we haven't even got to the part where you jumped off the porch. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is all the trauma that's before that.
What's funny is I've always been off the porch. Like, I don't think I've ever lived my life not off the porch. Like, we was probably stealing cars at 13, me, Peanut, 13, you know what I mean, prior all that. We was stealing cars at 13. Feel me? Like, that's just the lifestyle. You know what I mean? Again, you know, you don't think about other people and how it feels. I mean, you don't think about somebody coming outside not knowing that, you know, their 87 colors is gone. I mean, just for
You're not even considering your own experiences, let alone somebody else.
Man, you're not even caring about what day this 5,000 this person got in this car. I mean, you just really wanted it.
Right.
Not even to make money so much. I mean, at best you might have took out the Euro and the Nordic and shit, maybe the beat. You know what I mean? They come in their whole car back and shit without no, you know, Euro. So it's one of those things where you're just off the porch. And I do have, my problem is a lot different than my homies. My homies have excuses and reasons. I mean, their life is different. Mine is just because this is who I am. It's on purpose. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's you know, when I realize something wrong, I move on. If I don't, whatever that is, it's gonna become a target consistently every day until I realize if it's wrong. And if I don't realize it's wrong, it don't matter what nobody says. You don't have facts to bear. If you telling me that's part of that gangbang, like with the song "TUPAC Must Die," where people are appealing to my emotions, and I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Like, if it hurts your nigga, you know how many friends we had that died and this shit? Like, I'm telling you a story of how people die so kids can know how fucking the morality of this shit work. You mad because it's just one specific person. There's hundreds of niggas, thousands of niggas that die like this.
Yeah, and I think he was like, I want to say before your time with that, because I think if I would have heard that song years ago when we would get into our little debates, I don't know if I would have understood it because I didn't know the knowledge yet, like as far as how to look at it. Because, well, obviously I'm biased. I'm a little closer to that situation, which I give you props. You hit me up about that song, and
I hit mostly everybody I knew.
yeah,
Feel me? There's some people name I won't name because I know they're trying.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Do their thing with their business. But I made sure outside of Preem, feel me? I pretty much got one because I didn't have cut number no more.
Yeah.
I pretty much got with everybody I knew that fucked with me.
yeah,
Feel me? For real, and said, hey, this is what I'm about to do.
Yeah.
I mean, y'all know me. Y'all know what's up with me. Like, it ain't about being an asshole. This is my teaching moment. This is my hip hop moment to kind of give details to a lifestyle that we're familiar with. And it just happened to be somebody that everybody got major love and we all love.
yeah. Well, I feel, well, like I said, it was a learning moment for me too because I had to really look at myself and take my emotion out of it and sit there and say, well, this is what I do for a living. I explore people's perspectives. So I'd be a hypocrite to look down on what you was doing, even though obviously, you know, my relationship with Pac and his family is documented, but looking at it from a psychology standpoint, like I do with everything else.
And it's tough.
It's tough, but I learned how to look at that and say, you know what, this is something that needs to be seen because if we're gonna address these issues,
We have to.
how can we not know the mentality?
Again, hip hop is rooted in culture.
Yeah.
We talked about this offline. In culture, man, what's been overrepresented for us out here, right? What's been overrepresented is fashion. What's been overrepresented is lingo.
Yeah.
What's been overrepresented is cuisine at times. What's been underrepresented is morality. It ain't a lot of things that make up culture. Religions, 1,000, it ain't a ton of things. But my job as a hip hop artist, and like I told you, I had spent the last 8, 9, 10 years learning how to be an artist. I didn't know what that was.
Yeah, that was pretty fun.
Feel me? Like, I didn't get it. I was on a Breakfast Club in 2016 telling them, like, yo, I didn't know about being an artist. I was just somebody really from the streets that survived and had an opportunity, had great people around me, and God blessed me with great opportunities and a mind to do something. Feel me? But I didn't know. So I didn't fall in love with hip hop or what this shit is probably to 2013. I done already made a couple $1 million and changed my life and my circumstances, and it gave me that much. So if nothing else, I felt like I owed this game respect and love to even, like if you love somebody, you're gonna care to learn who they are.
Absolutely.
Feel me? So
Because it's all the black community. You know what I'm saying? The people that you were talking about on that song, no matter what side of the coin they was on, we are the black community.
And that's the reality.
And like again, you have to understand the mentality if you're gonna try to address it. And you know, when we sit there, a lot of people that don't know this mentality will sit there and say, how could something like this happen to Tupac? How could something like this happen to Nip? Who we both we're opposed to. You know what I'm saying? So, like, you look at these situations, you see these people that are polarizing and, you know, they do iconic things, but yet they still meet this violent end. And it's like, okay, at what point do we start looking at both sides of the situation and address it? Well, and that's what I got from your record, which
Man,
I was
really?
able to appreciate.
Really making it, right, was, again, going into what hip-hop represented the culture and finding a space to carve out in morality, understanding what people saw me as rather, and wanted from me, what they felt I was proficient at. I think I was looking at a lot of rappers at that time saying they were a part of the culture, and I don't think it's been enough explanation. I think y'all looking at it from these very narrow standpoints of, again, fashion, a lingo, small changes versus the true, you know, ultimate factor in morality. What was weird to me is people thought it was it was me, and that was just a bit weird, like we that far removed from great art to where people can't truly separate art from the artist. It's like, I think people think I wanted him to die. I'm like, bro, I was buying more of his records than all y'all. Like, this shit crazy.
Right, and if somebody asks you about that, they'll know.
They never heard my music,
you know what I'm saying?
Without even knowing, you know what I'm saying? And you listen to all of my projects and everything pretty much gonna have Tupac. If you from the West, it's virtually impossible to not have this man influence on your life and your music.